The Local Government Data Unit Wales conference, How It Really Is, Understanding Wellbeing, a Step Change in Wales, focuses on understanding wellbeing in the light of the Wellbeing of Future Generations Wales Act of 2015 and the Social Services and Wellbeing Wales Act of 2014. The Data Unit Executive Director, Andrew Stevens, sets the scene.
I think today's event is different from those that we've held in previous years in terms of the content and in terms of its relevance right now to public service organisations in Wales. Today we're going to be talking about the evidence requirements that arise out of the two new Welsh Government Acts, the Wellbeing of Future Generations and the Social Care and Wellbeing Act. These new requirements come at a time when public service organisations in Wales face financial challenges which are inevitably going to have an impact on their ability and capacity locally to deliver. We hope that people will go away from today with increased clarity about what exactly they need to be doing locally, and also with some practical ideas and solutions to take the work forward as they begin this in earnest in the coming year.
Councillor Jeff James, chair of the Data Unit Wales Board, welcomed the speakers and delegates and outlined the role of the Data Unit in supporting the work of local government with robust evidence in these challenging times of financial constraint. Chris Stevens is head of the Planning and Partnership branch of the Social Services and Integration Directorate of Welsh Government. He spoke about working on the Code of Practice to inform the integration of health and social services, which ties in with the care and support assessment of the population, and the preventative approach outlined in sections 14 and 15 of the Act, and also how the assessments will develop and be reviewed in an ongoing cycle.
I'm aware of the fact that there is a requirement for a wellbeing assessment contained within the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, and that those two processes do go on in parallel, and there is indeed a statutory link so that the population assessment by the Social Services Act must feed into and inform the wider wellbeing assessment.
Chris's Welsh Government colleague, Claire Germain, is the head of local government partnerships, and she went on to outline the goals of the Act and how to approach those goals. Public service boards are being set up to take a flexible approach to assess the environmental, economic, cultural and social aspects of the wellbeing of the population in their areas.
One of the key elements of our piece of legislation is that flexibility for the local areas to decide what's right for them, who's the right person to have on the table, but also what's the right kind of assessment for them, what's the right kind of plan for them. And I think if I leave you one of my key messages would be there's intended flexibility in our Act, an intended lack of prescription around how things are done. We give the broad framework, but it's intended that the areas have flexibility in how they proceed.
Chris and Claire took a question and answer session before delegates took a break to explore the exhibition, which included stands for the Data Unit, Welsh Government, the Care Council for Wales, Dewis Cymru, Good Practice Wales, Welsh Local Government Data Unit, Participation Cymru and the Wales Audit Office. Last speaker of the morning was Dr Alan Netherwood of Netherwood Sustainable Futures and an Honorary Research Fellow at Cardiff University. Alan broadened the perspective to look at what we mean by future generations in the Act and how we weave their needs into the assessments and think ahead, not just for now.
I think what's different and distinct about this is that for the first time in law we are required to think not implicitly but explicitly about future generations. And I think that's quite exciting, the geek that I am.
He stressed how vital it is that public service leaves a legacy for the well-being of future generations.
My thesis, if you like, this morning is that as we embark on this new generation of assessments, we ask questions on behalf of future generations.
There were breakout sessions before and after lunch on supporting the development of population assessments, achieving proportionate approach to audit, local evidence for national data, the need for long-term strategies to meet long-term challenges, understanding the needs of the citizen, and response analysis in practice. Russell Dath is Senior Natural Resource Management Advisor for Natural Resources Wales. A report on the state of our natural resources comes out in September, and Russell spoke about how policy will outline priorities and ways to link the management of natural resources with wellbeing outcomes.
I think natural resources can make a contribution right across the well-being goals, so they mustn't be seen as a standalone issue. We are preparing ourselves to be able to support public service boards and wellbeing assessments through preparing evidence packs, but that's not the only solution. We want to have those conversations about place, about long-term thinking, about different ways of managing our natural resources, about what opportunities there might be for doing things differently.
Our final speaker was Lynne Doyle, Learning, Training and Development Manager for Neath Talbot County Borough Council. Lynne has been working on the Care Council Information Hub for Welsh Government. It's all about getting in on the Act, raising awareness via e-learning and training about what the Act means and how to measure progress.
We've started the first cohort of training for people who were identified by the ADSS as being those people in key roles, such as those working with population assessments, information advice and assistance, the frontline skills, and the team managers, and the social workers involved in assessment and eligibility.
Andrew Stevens reviewed the day and closed another interesting, successful and thought-provoking conference. All the speeches can be viewed in full on the website.